So managing certs for your domains can be a bit of a pain, right? I mean, if you're deploying to AWS, there's ACM, but how do you connect that to your load balancers or your CloudFront distributions? And if you're going to deploy through one service or another, it's complicated and annoying. And what if there was a better way to do that? Well, in the latest version of the Defang BYOC beta, you can now bring your own domain. And there are two different ways to do that. So we're going to look at that today. The first way to bring your own domain is actually just to go in and buy a domain and hook it up, and you can start building. The other way, which is a little bit more complicated, but may be applicable to more people, is what I'm going to show you right now. So I like to manage my domains with CloudFlare. So here in my CloudFlare account, you can see a domain that I own, chewydemos.com. And I want to deploy something with Defang to my AWS account hooked up to my domain. In this case, I have this Defang subdomain, and I want subdomains of that subdomain to be managed in AWS. But you could make this your top level domain. So I could point the @ symbol to AWS, and then all of the records would be managed there. So essentially what we're doing is we're saying, okay, for this subdomain, delegate DNS management to AWS. And here in AWS, I set up this defang.chewydemos.com hosted zone. And that's all you need to do. You copy the values from here into your Cloudflare account, and you're good to go. Everything else is going to be managed by Defang. So I've got this very simple application. It's a Next.js application, doesn't really do anything. In here, you can see we have a Docker file, very basic Docker file to deploy this thing, and a Docker ignore to make sure we ignore the node modules and the next build directory. And then we have a simple compose file, and here is where the magic starts. So in your service, you set up domain name, and you say the domain that you want. So in my case, nextjs.defang.chewydemos.com, and you make sure you have a port that exposes the one where your app is running set to ingress. First things first, I want to log into my AWS account. I'm using the AWS CLI with SSO, but you don't have to. As long as you've got the right credentials in your .aws directory, it should work fine. Then I'm going to log in with Defang login. There we go. And now I'm going to run Defang compose up. You'll see this warning, but don't worry about it. That record doesn't exist, and Defang's going to make sure to create it. Here you can see the default URL that is created for this service. And here you can see it's also picked up that we need this URL to be managed. Okay, so after a few minutes, you should be able to go into Route53. And in here, in our defang.chewydemos, you'll see you now have a record for that. And if we go to ACM, you'll see that we have a certificate issued. And if we go to nextjs.defang.chewydemos.com, we can see that we have our app up and running. So that is Defang BYOC BYOD. Bring your own cloud, bring your own domain. With routing properly handled, certificates properly issued, everything properly hooked up to your load balancers, everything nice and simple. So give it a shot. Try Defang. You can go to defang.io, and all of the necessary instructions are in there. It's dead simple to get started. We also have pretty comprehensive docs that we're working on, but if you find anything missing, please shoot us a message. If you want to let me know what you want to build next, let me know in the comments or through the website, and we'll do everything we can to help you deploy better and faster with Defang. All right, I'll see you in the next one, folks. Go deploy something awesome.